Can you practice English with me? I watched an interview with Khaleesi. Do you know who that is? No, I'm talking about Khaleesi from the show Game of Thrones. I don't know her real name either. Her name is Khaleesi in the show Game of Thrones. The show is based on a book series called The Song of Ice and Fire. She looked super cold in the show, but in the interview, she smiled like a baby. I like girls who smile a lot. She smiled she smiled so big her whole face scrunched up. It was nice to see. I can shadow audiobooks, but those are not the kind of things I actually say. Maybe I'll learn intonation from audiobooks and memorize the stuff I actually use separately. Do you think those two strategies can work together? Do you think those two strategies can work together? Audiobook audiobook pronunciation is super clear, but those that's not how native speakers actually talk. That's not how native speakers actually talk. Audiobook pronunciation is super clear, but that's not how native speakers actually talk. Native speakers actually talk. In an interview, they speak very fast and mush their words. Mush their words. Still, is it better to study with audiobooks? Uh, in the end, I should do both, right? There's no easy way, huh? Why am I even overthinking this? I'll just do both. I had a family with I had a family meeting with my sister yesterday. The agenda was whether or not I should marry my current girlfriend. My girlfriend has her pros and cons, obviously. The main con my sister pointed out was her lack of vocabulary, like mixing up landing and takeoff, that kind of thing. My sister says she could never live with someone who's not sharp. I think it's okay if her vocabulary isn't perfect. What matters is whether we can have real conversations. We can talk about politics and social issues, no problems. I've never get frustrated talking with her. And I don't think her vocabulary will improve much. We are already 30. We are already 30. I admit that I admit it's it's con I've accepted that, and that's why I see it as a con. I've accepted that, and that's why I see it as a con. My girlfriend's main strength, she never complains. Most people whine about not wanting to go to work, especially on Sunday. They hate that Monday comes after sleep. They hate that Monday comes after sleep. My girlfriend has never once said that she doesn't want to go to work. I set my I set my alarm for 5 a.m., but I just can't get up. Even when I go to bed around 11 to wake up early, it's still hard. Waking up, but waking up early feels makes me feel rewarding. makes me feel rewarding. But waking up early feels so rewarding. Even when I go to bed around 11 to wake up early, it's still hard. But waking up early feels so rewarding. It makes me feel productive. It makes me feel productive. Maybe I just can't get up because I'm so lazy. Maybe I feel like I'm just being lazy. I'm just being lazy. I hear the alarm, but I just turn it off right away. It's just only my mindset. I think it's just only my mindset. I never give up. I'll keep trying. I'll keep trying. Long time no see. Have you been only? Have you been really busy? Have you been really busy? Have you been have you been really busy? Have you been really busy? Why have you been so 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 busy? We didn't even see each other the week before last. The week before last. We didn't we didn't even see each other the week before last. We didn't even see each other the week before last. We didn't even see each other the week before last. We didn't even see each other the week before last. We didn't even see each other the week before last. What did I say? What did I say? We didn't even see each other the week before last. I've been so busy. We didn't even see each other the week before last. I've been so busy. I haven't even had time for movies. I've been so busy. I haven't even had time for movies. I haven't even I haven't I haven't I haven't I haven't even had time for movies. I haven't even had time for movies. I've been so busy. I haven't even time for movies. I haven't even time. I haven't even had time for movies. I haven't even had time for movies. I've been so busy. I haven't even had time for movies. I haven't even had time for movies. I've been so busy. I haven't even time for movies. I haven't even had time for movies. I haven't even have I haven't even had time for movies. I've been so busy. I haven't even had time for movies. I like gory stuff and romance movies. I like gory stuff. Gory stuff. I like gory stuff and romance movies. If people fall asleep in the theater, isn't that the director's fault? Isn't that the director's fault? Director's fault? Isn't that the director's fault? If people fall asleep in the theater, isn't that the director's fault? If people fall asleep in the theater, isn't that the director's fault? My bad. That was my mistake. You're the one who messed up. You're the one who messed up. You are the one who messed up. Come on, you know it was your fault. Come on. It was your, you know, it was your fault. You know it was your fault. You know it was your fault. Come on. Come on, you know you know it was your fault. You know it was your fault. You know it was your fault. You're the one who messed up. That's why that's that was my mistake. That was my mistake. My bad. If people fall asleep in the theater, isn't that director's fault? Isn't that the director's fault? Isn't that the director's fault? Isn't that the director's fault? Director's fault? Fault? Isn't that the director's fault? Isn't that the director's fault? If people fall asleep in the theater, isn't that the director's fault? I like gory stuff and romance movie. I've been so busy. I haven't even had time for movies. What did I say? We didn't even see each other the week before last. The week before last. We didn't even see each other the week before last. Have you been so busy? Have you been really busy? Why have you been so busy? Why have you been so busy? Why have you been so busy? Have you been Why have you been so busy? Have you been really busy? Long time no see. Long time no see. Long time no see. Have you been so busy? Why 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 have you been so busy? We didn't even see each other. We didn't even see each other the week before last. We didn't even see each other the week before last. What did I say? I've been so busy. I hadn't. I haven't. I haven't even had no time for movies. I haven't even had no time for movies. I haven't even had no time. I haven't even had time for movies. I have I have I have even had no time for movies. I haven't even had 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 time for movies. I like gory stuff and romance movie. Gory stuff and romance movie. If people fall asleep in the theater, isn't that the director's fault? Isn't that the director's fault? Director's fault? If people fall asleep in the theater, isn't that the director's fault? That was my mistake. That was my mistake. Oh, that's on me. My bad. It's your. You know it was your fault. You're the one who messed up. You're the one who messed up. I've been so busy. I haven't even had time for movies. I haven't even had time for movies. I haven't even had time for movies. We didn't even see each other the week before last. The week before last. We didn't even have see each other the week before last. The week before last. Why have you been so busy? Why have you been so busy? But that was definitely the wrong path to let my mind wander down. Of course, I was happy about the sunlight, But that wasn't completely responsible for the euphoric mood I was in. Not even close. 아, 이거 봤는데. Angela asked a few quiet questions about the Macbeth paper, which I answered as naturally as I could while spiraling downward in misery. She too invited me to go to with them tonight, and I agreed now, grasping at anything to distract myself. I realized I'd been holding onto a last thread of my shred of hope when I entered biology. Saw his empty seat and felt a new wave of disappointment. The rest of the day passed slowly, dismally. In gym, we had a lecture on the rules of badminton. The next torture they had lined up for me. But at least it meant I got to sit and listen instead of stumbling around on the court. The best part was the coach didn't finish. So I got another day off tomorrow. Never mind that the day after they would arm me with a rocket before unleashing me on the rest of the class. I was glad to leave campus so I would be free to pout and mope out. Before I went out tonight with Jessica. I went out tonight. I went out, went out, I went out tonight with Jessica and company. But right after I walked in the door of Charlie's house, and Jessica called to cancel our plans. I tried to be happy that Mike had asked her out to dinner. I really was relieved that he finally seemed to be catching on. But my enthusiasm sounded false in my own ears. She rescheduled our shopping trip for tomorrow night, which left me with little in the way of distractions. I had fish marinating for dinner, with a salad and bread left over from the night before, so there was nothing to do there. I spent a focused half hour on homework. I spent a focused half hour on homework, but then I was through with that, through with that too. But then I was through with that too. I checked my email, reading the backlog of letters from my mother, getting snappier as they progressed to the present. I sighed and typed a quick response. Mom, sorry, I've been out. I went to the beach with some friends and I had to write a paper. My excuses were fairly pathetic, so I gave up on that. It's sunny outside. It's sunny outside today. I know I'm shocked too, but I'm gonna go outside and soak up as much vitamin D as I can. I love you. Soak up as much vitamin D as I can. I love you, Bella. I decided to kill an hour with non-school related reading. I had a small collection of books that came with me. To Forks. The shabbiest volume being a compilation of the works of Jane Austen. I selected that one and headed to the backyard, grabbing a raised old quilt from the linen cupboard at the top of the stairs on my way down. Outside in the Charlie's small square yard, I folded the quiet in the hearth and laid it out of the reach of the tree's on the thick shadows on the thick lawn. There'd always be slight wet, no matter how long the sun shone. I lay on my stomach, crossing my ankles in the air, flipping through the different novels in the book, trying to decide would occupy my mind the most thoroughly. My favorites were Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility. I'd read the first most I read the first most recently, so I studied into Sense and Sensibility, only to remember after I began chapter 3 that the hero of the story happened to be named Edward. Angrily, I turned to Mansfield Park, but the hero of the piece was named Edmund, and that was just too close. Weren't there any other names available in the late 18th century? I snapped the book shut. I snapped the book shut, annoyed, and rolled over onto my back. I pushed my sleeves up as high as they would go, and closed my eyes. I'd think of nothing but the warmth on my skin. I told myself severely the breeze was still light, but it blew tendrils of my hair around my face, and that tickled a bit. I pulled all my hair over my head, letting it fan out on the quilt above me, and focused again on the heat that touched my eyelids, my cheekbones, my nose, my lips, my forearms, my neck, soaked through my light shirt. The next thing I was conscious of, the next thing I was the sound of Charlie's cruisers turning onto the bricks of the driveway. I sat up in surprise, realizing the light was gone behind the trees and I had fallen asleep. I looked around, muddled, with the sudden feeling that wasn't alone. And Charlie, I asked, but I could hear his door slamming in front of the house. I jumped up, foolishly edgy, gathering the now damp quilt and my book. I ran inside to get some oil heating on the stove, realizing that dinner would be late. Charlie was hanging up his gun belt and stepping out of his boots when I came in. Sorry, Dad, dinner's not ready yet. I fell asleep outside. I stifled a yawn. Don't worry about it. I wanted to catch up the score on the game anyway. I watched TV with Charlie after dinner for something to do. There wasn't anything on my watch to watch. On anything on I wanted to watch. But he knew I didn't like baseball, so he turned it to some mindless sitcom that neither of us enjoy. Neither of us enjoy. That neither of us enjoy. He seemed happy though, to be doing something together, and it felt good, despite my depression, to make him happy. That I said during a commercial, Jessica and Angela are going to look at dresses for the dance tomorrow night in Port Angeles, and they wanted me to help them choose. Do you mind if I go with them? Jessica Stanley? Jessica Stanley? He asked. Jessica Stanley? He asked. And Angela Weber. Weber. Stanley. I sighed as I gave him the details. I sighed as I gave him the details. He was confused. But you're not going to do dance, right? No, Dad, but I'm helping them find dresses, giving them constructive criticism. Giving them constructive criticism. Giving them constructive criticism. I wouldn't have to explain this to a woman. I wouldn't have to explain this to a woman. Well, okay. He seemed to realize that he was out of his depths with the girly stuff. It was it's a school night though. Well, we'll leave right after school so we can get back early. You'll be okay for dinner, right? Bells. I fed myself for 17 years before you got here, he reminded me. I don't know how you survived, I muttered, then added more clearly, I'll leave some things for cold cut sandwiches in the fridge, okay? Right on top. It was sunny again in the morning. I awaked. I awaked with renewed hope that I grimly tried to suppress. I dressed for the warmer weather in the deep blue V-neck blouse, something I've worn in the dead of winter in Phoenix. I had planned my arrival at school so that I barely had time to make it to class. With a sinking heart, I circled the full lot looking for a space while also searching for the silver Volvo that was clearly not there. I parked in the last row, and hurried to English, arriving breathless. But I subdued before the final bell. Subdued, quiet, and rather reflective or depressed. Hmm, it was the same as yesterday. I just couldn't keep little sprouts of hope from budding in my mind, only to have them squashed painfully as I searched the lunchroom in vain and sat at the empty biology table. The Port Angeles scheme scheme was back on again for tonight and made all the more attractive by the fact that Lauren had other obligations. I was anxious to get out of town so I could stop glancing over my shoulder, hoping to him appearing out of the blue the way he always did. I vote to myself, and that I would be in a good mood tonight, not ruins Angela's or Jessica's enjoyment in the dress hunting. Maybe I could do a little clothes shopping as well. I refuse to think that I might be shopping alone in Seattle this weekend. No longer interested in the earlier arrangement. Surely he wouldn't cancel without at least telling me. After school, Jessica followed me home in her old white Mercury so that I could ditch my books and trucks. I brushed through my hair quickly when I was inside, feeling a slight lift of excitement, and I contemplated getting out of Forks. I left a note for Charlie on the table, explaining again where to find dinner, switched my scruffy wallet from my school bag to a purse I really rarely used. I ran out to join Jessica. We went to Angela's house next, and she was waiting for us. My excitement increased exponentially as we actually drove out of town limits. Oh,